Classic Sword. Classic Zords, or Zord Fights on the Heights 4 Zords, are a collection of Zords from the Roblox game Zord Fights on the Heights 4, created by Shaletsky. All of them are limited unique gears with 100 copies, while some also contain dual-wield versions. However, the dual-wielded versions do not work properly when used in-game. All of these classic Zords use the same mesh as the original Linked Sword. However, it is argued that the Linked Sword is not considered a Zord Fights on the Heights sword due to being introduced previously in Roblox's Brick Battle game. All but 2 of the original single-wield Zords were ranked in the Deadliest Zords on Roblox blog post back in 2012. Original. The original Classic Sword, more commonly referred to as the Linked Sword, was published to Roblox in August of 2013, despite existing before then. Its original price of 47,324 Robux was the place ID of Zord Fights on the Heights 4. Currently, the Zord has over 17,000 favorites, being the 4th most popular despite being the original. Its functionality deals damage to other players that touch it, and allows the holder to double jump when double clicked on. Its description quote, with blood and iron quote, references the use of the Zord being made of iron and meant to draw blood from the defeated. The name Linked Sword comes from the fact that the scripts within the Linked Sword originally came out of the Roblox library, being a linked source. Speculation has also arose about the Zord's origin, with a similar model being available on TurboSquid, a 3D model marketplace, since January 2002. However, Roblox's version was slightly modified. This Zord was a part of Roblox's classic weapons and is a part of its history, being used in many Zord fighting tournaments. Firebrand. Firebrand Classic Sword is a dark red and larger reskin of the Linked Sword, releasing in May of 2012 for 20,000 Robux, having over 10,000 favorites. The Zord deals similar damage to the Linked Sword, being immune to the Icedagger's freezing ability when wielded. The size of the Zord is shared with the Venomshank, and its description, quote, "Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention," quote, is a reference to a William Shakespeare play. Venomshank. The Venomshank is a classic Zord that was published by Roblox in December of 2011 for 5,000 Robux. The Zord is just short of 9,000 favorites, being a green counterpart to the Firebrand. The Zord deals slightly less damage than the original Linked Sword, making it one of the least deadly Zords, however inflicts damage over time on the opponent. The description, quote, "because doesn't he deserve the most painful bloxing possible," quote, refers to the player getting blocked painfully due to venom actually being painful when bitten by a venomous creature. Windforce. The Windforce was published by Roblox in April of 2012, purchasable for 15,000 Robux, and having almost 8,000 favorites, making it the least popular of the classic Zords. Its appearance features a shiny blue reskin of the Linked Sword. Upon the items released in the catalog, however, some are unable to see the buy button to purchase the Zord. Its description, quote, "it's like the wind," quote, compares wind with the Zord itself. When used, the Zord deals slightly more damage than the Linked Sword, knocking back any players that touch it. Darkheart. The Darkheart is a jet black recolor of the Linked Sword, being published to the catalog in October of 2009, available for 2,000 Robux. This is the most popular Zord in the series, even more popular than the original at almost 27,000 favorites. The #1 copy of the Zord had ownership under Roblox players who stole accounts, being deleted in 2018 after its owner was terminated. The item's description, quote, "it's darker than RGB 000 and it steals life from your enemies. What more is there to say?" quote, states that the item is darker than regular black and associates the color with the Zord's functionality. When used, the Zord does similar damage to the Windforce, however the Zord heals 40% of damage to the wielder. Upon defeat, the Zord turns enemies into a black mesh with their parts flying in random directions. Illumina. This is a classic Zord which was published in October of 2009, making it the first classic Zord ever published to the Roblox catalog. It was available for 5,000 Robux and has over 23,000 favorites, making it the second most popular classic Zord. It has an appearance very similar to the Windforce, but with a lighter color, being the only classic Zord emitting particles when equipped. When used, the Zord does slightly more damage than the Windforce, allowing players to jump a lot higher than a typical double jump by other classic Zords. It can also reveal invisible enemies wielding the Ghostwalker. The description, quote, "Telemon's favorite weapon from Zord Fights on the Heights. It is light, agile, and deadly," quote, states that this was the preferred Zord of back then Roblox admin Telemon, giving brief reasons as to why. Ghostwalker. A classic Zord published in October of 2010, the Ghostwalker could have been purchased for 12,000 Robux, having almost 18,000 favorites, making it the 3rd most popular classic Zord. Unlike the Illumina, which grants a jump boost when lunging the Zord, the Ghostwalker allows players to jump higher with just having the Zord equipped. It is the only Zord to grant abilities after blocking other players, allowing the wielder to become more and more transparent, as well as increases the Zord's damage. When acquired, the player stays visible, with the Zord doing the same amount of damage as the Venomshank. At max, however, the player is fully invisible apart from faces and accessories, and the damage it deals makes it the second most deadliest Zord. The Zord emits blue fire to resemble soul stealing and also plays a unique ghost-like sound when enemies get KO'd. Its description, quote, "the boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave, awaits like the inevitable hour, the paths of glory lead but to the grave," quote, is an excerpt from the poem Elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray. Icedagger. The Icedagger is a classic sword published by Roblox in June of 2012, being purchasable for 25,000 Robux and having little under 9,000 favorites. When equipped, the dagger becomes less transparent and is the most deadliest of the classic swords, being able to freeze players in place before they break into pieces, with the only exception being the players wielding a Firebrand. The sword is called a dagger despite having the linked sword's mesh, due to being the smallest out of all the classic swords. It is a sign and reskin of the linked sword with its description, quote, "Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand, come let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible, the feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the he oppressed brain?" Quote, being a reference to a play called Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Dual Illumina. The dual-wield Illumina is a dual-wield version of the Illumina, being released in December of 2012, coming out of the Coolest Gift as part of the Giftsplosion 2012 event. It was the first ever dual-wielded version of a classic sword, and later went limited with over 30,000 favorites. The gear is more popular than any of the single-wielded classic swords. The swords were twice as deadly when used, however the jump abilities from the Illumina and the double jump from the classic swords do not work. A secret Illumina tornado can also be created around the player when pressing F. The item's description, quote, "Light and deadly, twice as deadly as a single Illumina. This item came out of the Coolest Gift on December 21st, 2012, quote, explains the fact that the dual wield is twice as deadly as the original, and refers to the gift from which it came out of. Dual Darkhearts. The dual Darkhearts were the second dual-wield version of a classic sword, this time being the Darkheart, releasing in February of 2013. Unlike the dual Illumina, this dual-wield followed the patterns of the original classic swords, being a limited unique with only 100 copies available for 60,000 Robux. The description, quote, "It's twice as dark as RGB 000 and it steals life from your enemies." One more is there to say, quote, "It's nearly identical to the original Darkheart's description, however claiming that the gear is twice as dark despite having the same jet black color as the original. The gear has over 20,000 favorites, being less popular than the original Darkheart. When used, the gear does more damage than a Darkheart, however it is not double, with each sword doing less damage on its own than a singular Darkheart. The sealing functionality on the regular Darkheart also carries over to the dual wield, except emitting a dark mist on the enemy rather than parts turning black upon their death. The catch with this powerful gear is that the wielder loses 10% of their max health for every kill they make. Similar to the dual Illuminas, pressing F grants the wielder a Zord Storm ability. Dual Venomshanks. Being the latest gear to relate to the classic swords released in May of 2014, the dual Venomshanks are the dual-wield version of the Venomshank. Similar to the dual-wield Darkhearts, they are limited unique, having only 100 copies purchasable for 25,000 Robux. It has over 8,000 favorites, being the least popular dual-wield classic sword. The Zord works the same as the Venomshank, except being 2 times as more powerful. However, pressing E, Q, X, or Z creates an acid rain ability that works on anyone within a 50 stud radius. Its description, quote, "Great for lunging and slashing, but its real damage comes with its special ability. Hit E, Q, Z, or X to create acid rain that will fall on anyone in a 50 stud radius." Quote, "It makes this dual wield the only one out of the 3 to show off an ability within its description and how to use it." Hope you enjoyed this extensive video. Subscribe for more videos like this one.